Remember that PMI seeks experience that illustrates how well you fit project manager requirements. To avoid your application being audited, make sure to use PMBOK Guide's terminology as much as possible in your project description. This would make it very clear to PMI that you followed PMBOK best practices and fulfilled the role of a project manager in your projects. Hello there and welcome. Are you ready to dive into the thrilling world of PMP certification? Well, if you've ever attempted to fill out the application and felt overwhelmed, hey, well, worry no more. Because in this video, I'm going to take you on an exhilarating journey through the entire PMP online application process from start to finish. And by the end of this video, you'll have all the knowledge you need to conquer that application and take the first step toward realizing your PMP dream. So, make sure you stick around until the end of this video because I'm going to be spilling the beans on the common mistakes that people make while filling out their PMP applications. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty of the application process, let's talk about eligibility. It is an important step and you want to make sure that you're on the right track. So here's the deal. If you've got a 4-year education degree under your belt, you'll need to show 36 months of project leadership experience. On the other hand, if you've got a high school diploma or associate degree, you'll need to show 60 months of project leadership experience. And by the way, for both of these options, you'll also need to complete 35 hours of project management education or hold the prestigious CAPM certification. Yes, that's a lot to take in, but don't worry, we're in this together. All right, listen up, folks. I've got some golden advice for you. Before you even think about diving headfirst into the PMP application form, I strongly recommend that you download and do a thorough read-through of the PMP exam content outline and the certification handbook. Trust me, these resources are absolute game changers. The certification handbook is your ultimate guide to everything you need to know about applying for the PMP, while the exam content outline is like a treasure map that breaks down all the juicy details of the exam domains, the tasks, enablers, and more. But right now, let's take a look at the process to complete the online PMP application. I've divided the entire process into 2 stages to help you understand better. The first stage deals with filling and submitting the application, and the second part deals with what happens post-submission of the application. So, step-by-step process to apply for the PMP exam. Let's start with stage 1. Having a PMI account is mandatory to access the application form. So the very first step is to create your personal PMI account, which you can do for free. Your free account can be created by going to the PMI website and clicking on Register. Fill in all your details, such as your name, email, country, company name, your job title, your date of birth, your experience, and details related to project management in your career and organization. Add your account information and hit Create Account. Once registered, go to the Certification tab and select Project Management Professional. This will take you to the PMP page. Next, click on Apply Now for your PMP to go to the PMP application form. The application form can be divided into 3 sections: Education, Experience, and Exam Details. The Education section requires you to enter your academic and PMP education details. In the academic education, enter in the highest level of education you have attained by selecting from the drop-down. This can be a high school diploma, associate's, bachelor's, or master's degree, or even a doctorate. Fill in the years attended, country, and name of the institution. Select the field you studied in from the drop-down. So it can be business, finance, marketing, or anything else. For now, I'll select engineering. Next, hit the Save Education button. You should see the green check mark here, indicating that you've entered all the necessary details in this section. Next up is the professional education section, where you enter the details of the course that you took to complete the required 35 hours of project management education. For example, I took the PMP certification training from KnowledgeHut upgrade. Once you've filled in these details, click Save Education. Again, the green check mark indicates that you've entered all the information correctly. Just remember that if your project management training does not meet the mandated 35 hours of project management education requirement, then your application will get rejected. If you haven't yet done so, I would recommend that you explore the PMP course offered by KnowledgeHut Upgrade, a premier ATP of PMI, which will help you satisfy the 35 contact hours needed. You don't have to upload any documents or any training certificates for that matter at this stage. These have to be uploaded only at the time of audit. All right, getting back. Click on Continue to Experience to go to the second part of the application, where you're required to fill in your project management experience. This may be the most difficult part of the application, but it is crucial to complete it with utmost care so that your application doesn't get rejected. This checklist by PMI is a great reference point for filling in project experience. The link to this is given in the description. Make sure to go through it before you submit the application.
Enter the project title and the organization. The project I worked on was an e-commerce engine, and the organization was Sun Computers.
Now, the topmost question on your mind may be, will my application get rejected if my job title is not project manager? Well, the answer is no. A project manager title is not mandatory for you to take up the PMP. But when writing about your responsibilities, you must highlight that you perform the role of a project manager or lead in the project. So, for the job title, I'll choose project lead. My functional reporting area is customer service, while the organization's primary focus is consulting. The approach methodology was agile, team size was between 5 to 9, and the project budget was between 1 million and 5 million. While filling out project dates, remember that you should not provide overlapping months of experience. But now, what does overlapping experience actually mean? Well, let's look at an example. Let's say you worked on 2 projects between January and December 2022. Project 1 ran from February 1st to August 31st, 2022. Project 2 started on June 1st and ended on November 30th, 2022. The catch is that these 2 projects overlap from June to August. However, you can't list this overlapping experience twice in your PMP application. So to avoid the overlap, for Project 1, you would list the dates as February to August. For Project 2, you would list it as September to November. Remember, we want to provide clear and non-overlapping information in the experience section of your PMP application. So keep this in mind and confidently navigate through the process. You are doing great. All right, for the description, keep this checklist handy. Following this checklist, my description will look like this. Project goal. The goal of the project was to create an e-commerce engine for Sun Computers for the Asia Pacific region to enable users to simplify shopping and increase the company's revenue. My role in the project. As the project lead, I oversaw the entire project and led the team through all the stages of the project's lifecycle. My responsibility. During the initiation, I identified the stakeholders, created the strategy and WBS, and got the key stakeholders agreement. During the planning stage, I developed the job responsibility matrix and project plan while taking time, expense, and performance into account. As part of the execution phase, I oversaw the development of the portal with the help of cross-functional teams. During the monitoring and controlling phase, I kept an eye on the project schedule to ensure all milestones were met on time and developed weekly status reports to update team members and management of the project's progress. In the last phase of the project, which is the closing phase, I released the project to the users after successfully meeting all their acceptance criteria. I preserved the project documents and materials through generally accepted practices after receiving approval for the project deliverables to meet legal obligations. Now, make sure to highlight your responsibilities in leading the project through each stage of the project lifecycle. That is, initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. Right, moving on. Project outcomes. The e-commerce engine was made available for users of the Asia-Pacific region who can now use it to shop online for the services of Sun Computers. Now, a point to note is that PMI seeks experience that illustrates how you fit the project manager's requirements. So make sure to use PMBOK Guide's terminology as much as possible in your description. This would make it very clear to PMI that you followed the best practices from the PMBOK Guide and fulfilled the role of a project manager or lead. Remember that this is only a sample, and you should write the description based on your experiences leading and directing projects. After entering all the details, save the experience. Note that the experience summary has been updated to 10 months. So we need to add in 26 months, more experience details. You can add more experience details by clicking on Add Additional Experience, and you'll see that the same form appears at the bottom. You will have to fill out this form for every project you have led till you reach the 36 or 60 months experience requirement. Make sure to add unique descriptions and not copy the same thing over.
After adding the details for 3 more projects, my total experience summary has reached 36 months.
Remember that PMI seeks experience that illustrates how well you fit the project manager requirements. To avoid your application being audited, make sure to use PMBOK Guide's terminology as much as possible in your project description. This would make it very clear to PMI that you followed PMBOK best practices and fulfilled the role of a project manager in your projects. How to fill the project description. Here are some key points to remember when filling in your project description. Word count. Stick to PMI's recommendation of keeping your description between 200 and 500 words. Don't exceed the limit. PMI criteria. Ensure that your project descriptions satisfy PMI's criteria by demonstrating your accomplishment of tasks across all stages of the project management lifecycle and performance domains. Focus on your role. Emphasize what you did as a project manager and highlight the deliverables you achieved. Required hours. Make sure your project experience or education meets the required hours specified by PMI. If you don't meet the hours, reconsider filling out this form at this stage. Keep these points in mind as you craft your description and make your application stand out. If at any time you want to leave off and come back to the application, you can do so by going to My Certifications and clicking on Continue Application. Now, the final section of the PMP application form are the exam details for which you need to provide all the required information. For my example, I'm choosing the United States as the exam location, including address, email address, phone number, and name. Make sure to provide accurate contact details in this section, as you would want it to appear on the certificate. Next, if you need exam accommodation. All right, go back and review to make sure that you have entered all the information accurately. Next, check these boxes to verify that this information provided by you is accurate and click Submit to submit your application. Remember that once you begin filling out the online application form on the PMI website, you have 90 days to submit it. We have now submitted the application and completed the first stage of the process. The second stage of the process starts with the application review by PMI. In around 5 to 7 days of submission, PMI will let you know whether your application has been selected for an audit or not. If not, then you can go ahead and pay the fee and schedule the exam. Now, there is no way really to escape an application audit, as PMI reserves the right to pick any application randomly for this process. In the event that your application does get selected for an audit, don't panic. If the query raised is related to your academics, all you need to do is submit copies of your degree or diploma. If it's related to your PM experience, then you'd need to submit the confirmation letter and signature from your then manager who was in charge of the project that you have listed in the application. And don't worry if your manager has left the organization. You can take similar evidence signed from your peers or even your team members. You will have 90 days to complete and submit your audit paperwork through your PMI account under application status. Audit materials are processed within 5 to 7 business days of their submission. If you pass the audit, hey, you can go ahead and complete the exam fee and scheduling formalities. Here are some tips to fill the application form. Tip number 1, provide factual and accurate information in your application. Tip 2, ensure you've obtained your 35 hours of project management education from a PMI authorized training provider. Tip 3, highlight projects where you served as the project manager or lead in the project description section. Remember, the requirement is to demonstrate experience in managing and leading projects, even if you don't have a specific PM designation. Tip 4, inform your references that PMI may contact them as part of the audit process. Hey, and there you have it. You've completed all the necessary formalities involved in the submission of your PMP application. If you have any additional tips or insights on successfully filling out the PMP application form, we'd love to hear from you. So please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your feedback and contributions are absolutely appreciated. Once your application is approved, the next step is to pay the exam fee. Now, the fee amount depends on your geographical location and whether you're a PMI member or not. At the time of this recording in North America, the fee is $405 for PMI members and $575 for non-members. Scheduling the exam. Now let's talk about exam preparation and scheduling. It is highly recommended to start preparing for the exam even before you schedule it. There is a dedicated video on PMP exam preparation, so make sure to go check out the link in the description box for more information. Remember, the key to successful exam preparation is to have the right study materials and to practice. Practice and, yes, practice. When it comes to scheduling the exam, I suggest picking a date as soon as your application is approved. Having a specific date in mind will motivate you to work harder and, most importantly, prevent procrastination. In conclusion, filling out the PMP application form becomes much easier when you know what to expect. By following the steps outlined in this video, you can ensure that your application is complete and accurate. Remember to thoroughly understand the PMP requirements and gather all the necessary documentation before you begin the application process. Good luck on your PMP journey. And if you need any help or have any questions regarding any other aspect of the PMP certification, please feel free to write to us in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more valuable PMP related content. Bye-bye for now.